Hey guys, I'm Mr. Butcher, as you guys know, and this is going to be a video that you should be watching on your asynchronous day, and it's pretty much us. We're just going to review 3 sections that will be on the test that you will be taking the week after Thanksgiving. So once you come back, you're going to have probably a major exam, your first exam for the whole semester, and it's going to be covering. This is going to cover some of the topics that will be on that exam. So, I'm going to go through it, I'm going to try to explain it, and hopefully you will understand it. I'll be very detailed in my explanations, so let's just get into it. So, number 1, patres, voces, en vilad terrent. Now when you look at this, we can see there's an issue, because voces is what we're trying to figure out with magnus magna, right? So what we've been doing in class every single day. But the issue with voces is it is third declension plural. So we don't know if it's nominative or singular. I don't know if nominative or accusative. We know it's plural. We don't know if it's nominative or accusative. From class every day we would say, why does this disturb us? Why does this disturb us? Why does this disturb us? The ES is the same in nominative and the accusative plural. So, we have to look at the rest of the sentence and decide what is going on in the sentence. So, we're looking around, oh, look, patres, the exact same issue with voces. ES, so we don't know if that's nominative, we don't know if that's accusative. It has to be one or the other. So, we're going to read the sentence with the words that we know. So either the dads scare the voices in the country house, or the voices scare the dads in the country house. So hopefully it makes more sense to you, because this isn't poetry, we're not being figurative or, special, that the voices are going to be scaring the dads. Because if you hear voices in a house with no one else there, you're going to be scared. So we know that voces is our subject or our nominative in this sentence. And as I just said before, we know it's plural because plural endings are the same for third declension in the nominative and the accusative. So we know it's plural. Another way we can tell it's plural is by looking at the verb. If we know it's the nominative and we have a plural subject, or a plural verb, that will tell us that our subject is plural. The NT is telling us plural subject. So, now we just have to figure out the gender. We've done this many times in class, but if you look here at number 7, we see that it is given to us, it is feminine. So, we know it's feminine. So I wrote this handy-dandy chart for magnus magna, and we can figure out with that chart what will modify voces. Now, in order to figure out what an adjective is modifying, it has to agree in case, number, and gender. We don't care about the endings matching, we just need to know it's case, number, and gender. So, we need to find our nominative, because that's the most important. So, we got magnus magna, and we got magni magni. Okay? We know it's plural. So, we got magni magni. And now we know that it's feminine, so the answer would be magni with an AE, because I is AE. Like the English letter I is E. Magni, magni. So magni. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the next one. We look at it, exact same issue as before. ES. We know it's plural, so I guess we can write plural. We know it's feminine because matres means mothers. So we got that down. We got 2 out of the 3. But the issue is, what's our subject? So, let's look around the sentence and see if we can figure it out. Fortunately, there's nothing else there, so let's look at the verb and say, okay, well we know that the subject with the NT means it's they. So, either they catch sight of the mothers, or the mothers catch sight of something that we don't know because we don't have a direct object or anything else in this sentence. So, hopefully it makes more sense to you that they are catching sight of the mothers and not the mothers are catching sight of nothing, I guess, because there's nothing in the sentence. So, that would make matres the accusative. Because this is our subject. The NT is telling us the subject is they. Not the mothers, but they. Catch sight of the mothers. So, we look at our chart. Here we go. We got, it's accusative, so it's either magnum, magna, or magnos, magnas. We know it's plural, so it's either magnos, magnas. And mothers, since they're feminine, it is going to be magnas with a long A. Magnas. Alright, and we'll go to the next one, patrem. When I look at this, it should not confuse me or hurt me in any way if you know your endings. Because we only see patrem one time. One time, and that's in our third declension endings. It has a third declension ending, patrem. So, it's either, if we go through the list, it's pater, patrem, nominative, accusative, singular. It's patres, patres, nominative, accusative, plural. So, we know it's accusative if we know our endings. We know it's singular, and we know it's masculine because a dad is a man, it's masculine. So, patrem, if you look at our chart, we got accusative, we got singular, so magnum, magnum, and then since it's masculine, it would be magnum. Now, if you look at each of these words, vocase, matres, patrem, if you look at the adjectives that are modifying it, magni, magnas, magnum, they are not matching in the same ending. Because these are third declension nouns. Magnus, magna is a first, second declension adjective. They're never going to match in the same endings. So don't just think, oh, okay, so let me write magnes. That's not right. You don't do that. You have to make sure it just matches in case, number, gender. So, let's go ahead and go to the next one. We're. When I look at we're, it's one of our 6 words that we learn that's from the second declension that does not have a second declension ending. Those words are puer, we're, ager, minister, magister, and liber. Okay? So, because of those words, we know that this is just one of our fancy second declension endings that doesn't really have an ending. So it's not an ending, it has no ending. So we know that it's nominative because in the other forms, it would take the second declension endings. Virum, viros, but, and weary. But this one, nominative, we know that. It's singular because that's just the most basic form of the word. And then it is masculine because a man is masculine. So, our answer for this one is magnus with a US. Magnus, just like this one, because it matches in number, case, and gender. Alright. Let me go ahead and scroll over here. Alright. So, next one, fuelas. I should look at this word and be able to tell what it is immediately, since I know my endings. But if you do not know your endings, we know that this is either first or second declension. Well, we should know it's first declension, because the AS. So if we look at our chart over here, these are first, second declension adjectives, so we can know what it goes with. If we look at it, where is an AS? Where is an AS? Right here. So we know it's feminine, we know it's accusative, and since it's below this line, we know it's plural. So that means, in this case, the answer is magnas. Because this is a second declension noun, and this is a first and second declension adjective, they do match in endings. But the previous ones, not weird, but pater and mater, those are third declension nouns. So they do not match in endings for a first and second declension adjective. Next, matres. See, look. It disturbs us again. We don't know what it is. Is it nominative or is it accusative? Let's look at the rest of the sentence to try to figure it out. We see pueri, and that should tell us right here what matres is. Matres, because pueri is in the sentence, that is our subject. So matres is our direct object, meaning the case is accusative. Hopefully you said that when I said direct object. Accusative. We know it's plural because the plural is what confuses us the most, because third declension plural it's the same as nominative accusative, but we know in this case it is the accusative. And the gender of matres, as we know, is feminine. So, because it is accusative, plural, and feminine, it is going to be, again, magnas. Now, again, puellas is a first declension noun. Matres is a third declension noun. Puellas is a first declension noun. Matres is a third declension noun. The reason why matres does not match with the ending like puellas does with magnas is because, again, first, second declension adjective, third declension noun. First, second declension adjective, first declension noun. So again, make sure we're not just adding the es to the end of our adjectives because that's not right. Wokes. We look at it. And we know that it doesn't have an ending because it doesn't have our us and our ah endings that we know. So, and it's not one of our 6 words, which again are wir, puer, ager, minister, magister, and liber. So we know that this is one of our third declension nouns, that our endings are no ending, em, eas, eas. So, since it doesn't have an ending, that means that it's in its nominative case. Because it is not one of our second declensions that do not have an ending. It is our third declension, which are, when it doesn't have an ending, it's nominative. We also know it's singular, because if it was, it doesn't have any of the third declension endings, so it doesn't have em, eas, eas. And we know it is feminine, because looky there, there's the F. So what is nominative, singular, feminine? On this chart, nominative, singular, feminine, magna. So it would be vox magna. This is supposed to be an A. Moving on to the next one. Well case. Same issue. Let's look at the other sentence. We see patres. Same issue. So now we have to read for context to understand what's going on. So either the fathers hear the voices, or the voices hear the fathers. Hopefully it makes more sense to you that the fathers are going to hear the voices in the forest. So if patres are hearing, they are doing the verb, that makes them the subject. Well case is now our direct object, which that case is the accusative. Accusative, the es ending. If we know our endings, we know it is plural. And then will case, as we saw from the previous number, it is feminine. So, accusative, plural, feminine, magnas. That's A is supposed to be over the A, not the AS, just the A. So, patres, it's the exact same sentence. Now we're focusing on the patres. So, in the previous sentence, we know that was the accusative. So this one has to be our nominative. We know it's plural because of the form, but if for some reason you know it's nominative, but you don't know your forms that well, you can look at the verb, and that verb will tell you it is plural. So, the NT is going to tell you, OST, mustis, NT. So, patres is plural, and fathers, as we know, are masculine. I almost wrote an F, but it's masculine. It's masculine. So, if you look at our chart, we see it is nominative, it is masculine, and it's plural. So, it is going to be magni. Magni patres. Number 10, Cornelius reprehended servum. We look at servum, and we know what it is, because this is a second declension noun, and we're going to modify it with a first second declension adjective. And so, in this case, the endings will look alike, but that doesn't mean that they always will. But in this case, it does. So, we know it is magnu, servum, accusative, because Cornelius is going to get onto or scold the slave. The slave is not going to do anything to the Cornelius, because that doesn't make sense contextually. But so the slave is accusative, it is singular because the and it is masculine. So if you look over here, singular, accusative, masculine, magnu. Next sentence, we see urbem. Urbem, we already know it's feminine, so that's one thing down. Now we have to figure out what it is. Now, does this ending look familiar to you? Hopefully. That will tell you that it is an accusative singular. But let's say you don't know it's that. Does it make sense to say Cornelia does not love the city? Yes. Does it say it makes sense for the city does not love Cornelia? No. City is not a person. So, but because we know that the ending is em, and the em is third declension, it is accusative singular, no ending, em, singular, plurals are es, or es. In this case, we know it's accusative, right here, we know it's singular, right here, we know it's plural, or not plural, feminine, right here, so it is magnam. Alright, hopefully that all makes sense to you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is going to be